and I take it pretty seriously. I don't have a gay bone in my body. And I love the affection of those men. Don't be ashamed of that, brothers. Hug each other. Don't be ashamed of that. This has been a really remarkable afternoon, as you can imagine. My first time here, and hope not my last. But I have been moved. I just want to greet the several brothers whose hands I shook over on death row. I told them to be watching on Channel 21, and they said they would be, so I said I would remember you. And Gerald, you said you'd be watching. I want you to listen real carefully. I hope you are. I've seen the lay of the land, and I've heard remarkable stories, and the work of God here is unprecedented, as you know, in prisons, and I feel a weight on me that I hope the Lord processes in terms of power and not oppression. And the reason I feel such a weight is because I know most of you aren't leaving this place except to go to heaven. And that's heavy. It's got to be a battle lots of times. The message that I have is a combination of the last 3 Sundays at my church. So I didn't prepare the substance of this just for you. But as I was praying 3 or 4 days ago, Lord, what am I supposed to say in this situation? And I went over in my mind what I had been trying to drive home to my people from the 6th chapter of John. I think the Lord said, just go there and apply it to their situation. And here's the remarkable thing. I hope you see this. There is a sense in which your position here in prison, next stop heaven, makes it easier for you to get this message than for my people who are tempted every day to be idolaters with their freedom and their prosperity. So you test that, you see whether that's the case or not. Let me sum it up. I'll do the big summary of where I'm going, and then we're going to go in. If you have a Bible and you want to go with me, you can go to John, the Gospel of John, chapter 6. If you don't have a Bible, just listen. That's fine. And here's the summary of where we're going to go. We're going to work on verses 1 through 29 in 3 sections, because there were originally 3 sermons. We're packing it in to 1, and I'll just get right to the heart of each one. And there's a common denominator. Here's the main point. Jesus did not come into the world mainly to give bread, but to be bread. I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger. He who believes in me will never thirst. John 6:35. That's verse 35. Says the same thing again in verse 48. Same thing again in verse 51. He came into the world not to give bread, but to be bread. Now, he is going to give bread. And you can miss it. You can miss it by thinking that's the main thing he came to do. Give me the bread. But that's not the main reason he came. You've already had a lot of bread taken out of your hands. And I hope it lands on you with massive good news. That he came to be bread, not mainly give bread. He's got to take bread out of a lot of people's hands so that they will trust him as the bread. Secondly, he did not come to be useful, but to be precious. Oh, how many Christians receive Him as useful. Or another way to put it is, Jesus Christ did not come into the world to assist you in meeting desires you already had before you were born again. He came into the world to change your desires so that He's the main one. That's the reason He came. And so many preachers, maybe some have stood in this pulpit, and they have taken you right where you are with your desires, natural desires that you share with every fallen human being in the world, and just say, Jesus came to meet that. Well, He didn't. He came to change those desires profoundly, deep. It's called the new birth, so that He's the central desire. He's the bread. He's the precious one. That's the point of this sermon. Now, He does care about bread. I mean natural bread. He cares about your body. He just doesn't care about your body and your natural bread mainly. That's coming. That's coming just on the other side of the grave. There's going to be a resurrection someday. No more mourning, no more crying, no more tears, no more depression, no more sin, only joy on the new earth, under the new heavens, forever. That's coming. He cares about the body. He's going to raise the body from the dead, make you young forever, handsome forever, healthy forever, so that you can enjoy Him in the fullness of your humanity. That's coming. But that's not the main point of this world. I got a phone call yesterday. Was it yesterday on this funeral? Day before yesterday, whatever it was. And Joby, the administrator at our church, he said, I know you got a busy schedule, but there's a family in our church named the Jettelos, and their sister, not a believer, just committed suicide. There are no believers in this family at all, and on the Friday after Thanksgiving, could you do her funeral? That's the hardest funeral in the world. I've done suicides before. I'm okay with doing suicide funerals of people who were believers. I really believe you can be a believer and be that depressed. But here's a woman who is confessedly not a believer, and she killed herself. What am I going to say? But I want very much to say the best news in all the world for Christians is on the other side there's life. So there's another young lady in our church, young, late 40s, 4 kids, 2 in college, 2 smaller, and the doctors have told her maybe 2 weeks before her leukemia takes her out. We're still praying, oh God, make this last-ditch, unusual, creative, never tried before kind of chemo do the thing that might do it, but they are preparing themselves. And oh, I am willing, big time, to do that funeral if it comes. Because I've got such good news for that elder in my church and that family and those kids. God cares about the body. He'll never, ever throw it away. He will make it new. But He didn't come mainly to do that here. He didn't come mainly to cause all of our physical desires to be satisfied, but to change those desires at their core so that He becomes our treasure over everything. And that can happen in this prison way better sometimes than it can in the free, prosperous, hell-bent world. So I hope you men get this, that Jesus Christ came into the world to do mainly what can be done here. Mainly to do what can be done here in human beings. Treasuring Him, loving Him, following Him, living for Him, rejoicing in Him, being satisfied in Him, making